All right, hey everybody. Today's lesson is going to be about multiplying fractions. Okay, fractions are really important. Adding and subtracting them is going to be really useful, and multiplying and dividing them is going to be really useful when we're solving equations. Okay, we're going to start with multiplying and dividing them, and then work our way into adding and subtracting them. Okay, so let's just dive in right away with an example. 1/2 times 1/2. Okay. Multiplying fractions is fairly simple. Okay. We basically just multiply across. Okay. And what do I mean by that? We're going to multiply the numerator times the numerator. That'll give us the product's numerator. And I'm going to multiply the denominator times the denominator to give us our product's denominator. Remember, the product is what you get when you multiply numbers together. You get the product. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's multiply across. Start with the numerators. Let's do 1 times 1. It's just 1. Right? 2 times 2 gives you 4. And there's our answer. Okay. 1/4. All right. Now, that wasn't too bad. Let's start with, or not start with, but let's go ahead and jump into a different problem here. 3/4 times 5/7. 5/7. Okay, again, same thing. Notice even when they have different denominators, we can still just multiply across. That's the really nice thing about multiplication of fractions. Just multiply across even if we don't have common denominators. Okay, so we just do, again, multiply across. 3 times 5, 15. 4 times 7 is 28. Okay, so we have 15 over 28. Okay, and you might notice I'm kind of pausing and thinking about if this is our final answer, because if we can simplify a fraction, we should simplify it. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, let me jump to blank screen real quick. If I have, okay, when I'm working with fractions, the most common thing to do is think of a pizza or a pie or something in a circle that you can break up into even pieces. Okay, if I have this circle broke up into four pieces, okay, and let's say I just shaded in 2 of the 4, right? 2 of the 4 pieces, 2/4 of the entire circle I just shaded in. Okay, well, we can see from our circle, we shaded in half of it, right? Okay, and that means 2/4 is the same as 1/2. Okay, 2/4 simplified is 1/2. Okay, now it's really nice with a visual. We have small numbers like this. Okay, but what if we had something like 5/10? Okay, it can get really time consuming to draw a circle, split up into 10 even pieces, color in or shade in 5 of them, and see if it's simplified down to something. Okay, so what I'm going to do to simplify this is I'm going to ask myself, okay, are there any factors of 5 and 10 they have in common? Okay, basically what I'm asking is, okay, factors of 5, okay, what times what can give you 5? Okay, well, there's 1 times 5, and there's nothing else. Okay, 5's prime. Okay, so there's 1 and 5. 10, there's, well, 1 and 10, and 2 and 5. Now, what is the greatest one that they have in common? Okay, and this is called the greatest common factor. Okay, it's 5. 5 and 10, their greatest common factor is 5. So what we're going to do to simplify this fraction is we're going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor. Okay, so if I divide 5 by 5, that's going to give me 1. If I divide 10 by 5, again, the greatest common factor between these two numbers, 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay, 5 over 10 simple down to 1/2. Okay, I'm just circling these because it's my final answer. Okay, let's do another example with simplifying. Okay, let's do 7 over 21. And I know we're not multiplying right now, but I just want us to really get comfortable with simplifying fractions as well. Okay, when you multiply and add, subtract fractions, a lot of time you have to simplify. So 7 over 21, what does this simplify down to? Or does it simplify? Not all fractions simplify down to another fraction. Okay, well again, 7, what are factors of 7? Okay, what times what gives you 7? Well, there's 1 times 7, and that's it, right? 7's prime. 21, we have 1 and 21, and we also have 3 and 7. Are there any more? No. So our greatest common factor, okay, between all the factors listed between the two numbers, which one is the greatest one that they have in common? 7, right? Okay, so again, the greatest common factor between 7 and 21 is 7. So that means we're going to divide our numerator and denominator, which is 7 and 21, by 7. Okay, 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So 7 over 21 simplifies down to 1/3. Okay, let's go back to actually multiplying some fractions. Let's multiply 3/10 by negative 5 over 4. Okay, and I put these parentheses just so we're clear that, you know, that's negative 5/4, not like subtracting 5/4 in there or anything like that. Okay. Again, we're multiplying. We don't need to have common denominators. We can just multiply across. Okay, so 3 times negative 5 is going to be negative 15. And 10 times 4 is going to give you 40. Okay, and you might have been confused with the signs, okay, positive and negative. Okay, if you have a positive times a negative, the answer is going to be negative, right? Nice with the negative out front. Now, we should ask ourselves, can we simplify this? Okay, I'm going to start with keeping that negative. No matter what we do, it's going to be a negative number when we simplify. If the fraction you're starting with is negative, after you simplify it, it's still going to be negative. Okay, so we're asking ourselves, is there a common factor between 15 and 40? Okay, well 15 is 1 and 15, 3 and 5, and that is it. Okay, 40 is a bit bigger of a number. There's going to be a few more factors here. Okay, but keep in mind, I'm really looking to see if there's anything with a 15, 3, or 5 involved. Right? See if there's anything in common. So this is 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, 5 and 8, and I believe that is it. Okay. Well, notice, okay, what they have in common. We have a 5 and a 5. That's the greatest common factor. So that means I'm going to divide both the 15 and the 40 by 5. Okay. Again, I have my negative already there. The fraction bar. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 40 divided by 5 is 8. Okay. Ooh, let me circle that. Our final simplified fraction, our answer is negative 3/8. Okay. one last thing I really want to address, because it's something really important, not just for this lesson, but all throughout math. If we have, let's do 1/5. Okay, and if I want to multiply 1/5 by a number that will give me 1/5 as my answer, what would I need to be multiplying by? Okay, so what I'm asking is 1/5 times what number gives me 1/5? Okay, and that answer is 1, right? 1/5 times 1 gives you 1/5, right? Anything times 1 is going to give you that same thing back. Okay. Well, what's another way we could write 1? Okay, there's actually, we can rewrite 1 kind of any way we want, or I'm trying to say any way we want, okay? But there's a lot of different ways we can rewrite 1, okay? Isn't just 2/2, isn't it the same as 1, right? 2 divided by 2 gives you 1, okay? Multiplying by a fraction that has the same numerator and denominator, like 2/2, that's the same thing as multiplying by 1. It's kind of just a fancy looking 1, right? So if I multiply my fractions, multiply across, okay, well 1 times 2 gives me 2, 5 times 2 gives me 10. Your first thought might be, Mr. Rieger, I thought we multiplied by 1 for both of these. Why did we get a different fraction? Okay, we'll take a second and stop and think. We need to simplify this still, right? 2/10. Okay, we can simplify that. What's the greatest common factor between 2 and 10? Well, that's going to be 2. Okay, we can divide both the numerator and denominator by 2. Okay, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, so we multiplied by this fancy 1, which we're going to use this idea of a fancy 1 a lot with fractions, but also just throughout math. You're going to use that idea a lot. Okay. One thing about fractions and multiplying fractions I forgot to touch up on is what happens if we're multiplying a fraction times a whole number, okay, or just a non-fraction. So if I have, 3/7 times 4, okay, well, you might be thinking, well, you've just been saying to multiply across, multiply the numerator times the numerator and denominator times the denominator. How do we do this? There's no, distinguish between a numerator and denominator for 4. Okay. Well, this is kind of a really important aspect of math where we have to sometimes be able to just rewrite what we're working with. Okay, and that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to rewrite 4 as 4/1, right? 4 divided by 1, that's the same as 4, right? Okay, so basically we just rewrote 4 in a different way as a fraction. Now we can do exactly what we've been doing all along and just multiply across, right? Multiply our numerators together. 3 times 4 is 12. And then multiply our denominators. 7 times 1, you get 7. Okay, and this is good. This is our final answer. Can't simplify that anymore, and we can keep it as an improper fraction.